Hello knitters! I'd like to show you how to work a fake swatch in the round. So you're probably wondering why you would want to do this, why you wouldn't just work a swatch flat. Well, for many of us, when we purl, our tension changes, which can change our gauge. When our pattern directs us to knit a swatch and stockinette stitch, and the project is worked in the round, all of our stitches are knitted and there's no purling involved. The problem is, to work in the round on circular needles, you have to cast on a lot of stitches. And this is what I thought I had to do when I was a much less experienced knitter. But I learned a shortcut and I'm really excited to share it with you. This is what many knitters call a fake swatch in the round. So what you'll do is cast onto your circular needles, and remember to use the same needles you'll be using for your project. I've got a sample already in the works here. I like to work a few rows in garter stitch flat just to get started so I don't get this curl at the bottom. And then I knit a row. Okay, we're going to imagine that this is the end of my first row. Okay, I've actually worked quite a few rows here. So my working yarn is at the end, and I'm going to make a generous loop around the back to my first stitch. I'm going to hold on to my yarn here so I don't lose that loop, and I'm going to work my first row. I like to work my first and last stitch through the back loop so that things stay tidy on the edges. So now I'm at the end, and I'm going to work that last stitch through the back loop. Oops, I'm splitting that stitch. Let's not do that. Okay, so at the end of my rows, what I'm going to do is slide my work to the other end of my circular needles. And then this allows me to repeat this process, bringing that loop around the back, making sure it's big enough, and then working my next row. Okay, so you can see in the back here, these are all my loops, and these loops really are in the place of all of those other stitches that would have to be here to make my swatch in the round. And luckily, I didn't have to work them. So when the swatch is the size that you like, you can just bind off and block. And you can always cut these strands up the middle if you prefer, and sort of open them up, and your swatch can lie nice and flat. Sometimes if you do end up with them being a little bit tight, your swatch can't lie completely flat. So just sort of think about that before you start your swatch. If this is yarn you want to save, or you might be playing yarn chicken at the end, just be sure that you make those loops either big enough or know that you can cut them. So that's all there is to it. One thing that I do want to mention is that many patterns won't tell you to swatch in the round, but do pay attention, because if your project is knit in the round, you will need to swatch in the round. So I hope that helps.